In your field, especially in psychiatrics and treatment of PTSD and other maladies, how do you see psychedelics? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Retirement House Podcast.
The only podcast with over 450 years of wisdom and expertise.
Our guest this week is a world-renowned psychiatrist that specializes in brain research and treatment. He has scanned over 250,000 brains, including that of the Kardashians and other celebrities.
His mission is to end mental illness by creating a revolution in the mind, which is great at this age because the thing we value most is good mind and body.
So with that, it's our absolute pleasure to welcome Dr. Amen to the show.
Thank you so much.
Dr. Amen, we're thrilled to have you here. And your time is very valuable. So we would love for you to explain to our listeners, what is a brain scan? How do you do it? What does it look like? What do you learn when you're looking at it?
So for the last 32 years, I've been looking at the brain with a study called brain SPECT imaging, SPECT. It stands for single photon emission computed tomography. It's a nuclear medicine study that looks at how your brain works. And it basically tells us three things: good activity, too little, or too much. And then my job is to balance it. If your brain works too hard, we want to calm it down. If it doesn't work hard enough, which is sort of the big problem with aging, we want to find ways to stimulate it. And it's been the most wild journey of my life looking at the brain. And it's caused me to really care about mine and do whatever I can to make it healthy, and then share that wisdom with as many people as I can.
So is this a special machine that someone has to be in the same room with you in order to get their brain scan? Or is there a way of doing it from long distance and having you still be able to look at it?
Well, I have 11 clinics around the country, and we actually read scans from centers around the world. So with digital technology, you got scanned today in New York, I could see it almost immediately, and then we could use that information to develop the right program to help people.
And I guess the first thing people ask you is it covered by insurance?
You know, it depends on the insurance that you have. Even though I've been doing it 32 years, it's a really new and different way to practice medicine. And so insurance companies do everything they can to not cover it. Now, I'm sure that's not a big surprise for anyone.
Correct.
But, you know, people have to ask themselves, how much does it cost to have a brain that's not working right? I sent my daughter to college this year at a cost of about $70,000. And wouldn't you want to send her to college knowing her brain worked right? It's dramatically less cost than that. So, you know, people always ask about the cost, and they should, but they never ask the other question, which is, well, what is the cost to me personally of having a brain I don't know about? And for me, I want to know.
Because I got very excited when I first heard about all of this and thought immediately, oh, I want to do it. I need to do it. Yeah.
Can you tell from a scan what kind of brain they have, if they're intelligent, if they're a little slow, what kind of personality or tendencies they have?
So there's actually a free test people can take at brainhealthassessment.com. Because a long time ago, I realized not everyone is going to get a scan. So based on thousands of scans, I developed a questionnaire to help people know, what type of brain do I have? And there's 5 primary types: balanced, spontaneous, that's my ADD group, persistent, my OCD group, sensitive, and cautious. And with those 5 primary types, there are actually 16 types when you begin to combine them together. And I can tell so much from a scan. In fact, when I met my wife 18 years ago, the first naked part of her I wanted to see was her brain.
Oh, kinky.
And she passed.
Oh, that's good.
But if you date any of my 6 children for more than 4 months, I invite you to the clinic to get scanned. And I actually tell people, I'm like, as far as I'm concerned, you're not dating until I look at your brain. So you can tell, is it healthy? Are they a drug addict? That's sort of important information to have. Have they had a traumatic brain injury? Do they live in a mold-filled home? You can see evidence of that, or infections. If they're going to be on time, if they're going to be conflict-seeking, they're going to be worried, rigid, and flexible. If things don't go their way, they get upset. I mean, there's so many things the scans tell us. But it starts with, and I play this game with my grandchildren, is this healthy or not? And even at 5 years old, they can go, oh, Grandpa, that's a good-looking brain. Or, oh, Grandpa, that's terrible. I wonder what that person's doing.
Well, I guess I won't be dating one of your daughters because I had brain surgery recently, and I'd like to know. It was trauma, and I'd like to know if there's something I could be doing to ensure that, I would someday be able to date one of your daughters. No, no, to make my, for brain health. Is there something that I could be doing?
So let's start really simply, and then we can get more complicated if you like. Brain health is 3 things. Brain envy. You got to care about it. See, I always say Freud was wrong. Penis envy is not the cause of anybody's problem. I've not seen it once in 40 years. The thing you want to care about the most is the 3 pounds of fat between your ears. You want to love your brain. That's number 1. Number 2 is avoid anything that hurts it. And you just have to know the list. And when my daughter was 7, I went to her classroom in 2nd grade and I wrote 20 things on the board. And I went, separate these. Good for your brain or bad for it. And they got they got 19 out of 20 right. So this isn't hard. Most of you, if I said football, everybody here would go bad for your brain. Or hitting a soccer ball with your head, or smoking cigarettes, or drinking alcohol. Most rational people will go, not good for your brain. The only thing they missed was orange juice, which they put in the good category. But it really belongs in the bad category, because whenever you unwrap fruit sugar from its fiber source, it turns toxic in your body. So orange is awesome. Orange juice is poison. And so love your brain envy, avoid things that hurt it. You just have to know the list. And then do things on a daily basis that help it. And the biggest thing is this little tiny habit that takes 3 seconds, that when you come to a decision point in your day, ask yourself, is this good for your brain or bad for it? And if you can answer that with information and love of yourself, love of your family, love of the reason God put you on earth, you just start making better decisions. So brain envy, avoid bad, do good.
And you say that there's a quiz that you can take before you do the scan. Do we have the information or where people can take it?
So people can come to one of our clinics. I have 11 clinics. They can go to Amen, like the last word in the prayer, amenclinics.com, and learn more about where we are. And it's never too late to work on having a healthy brain. I'm going to turn 70 next year. And I know the impact of aging on the brain. But it doesn't have to be that way, which is why, I'm just always working on what I can do to have a better brain.
Actually, there is one on your website that I saw, which I took last night, and I came out with a number 1 type brain.
Yeah, so if you're a brain type 1, that's our balanced type. And what's really interesting is before the pandemic, it was about 40% of the people who took our quiz were brain type 1. After the pandemic, it's 15%. So clearly the virus and our reaction to the virus really created great trouble in our society.
Do you think that's from the virus itself or from the way society treated this particular disease where we isolated ourselves from other people?
So that's a great question. I think it's due to the virus. I've seen scans before and after COVID, and COVID causes inflammation in your brain. But then isolating people was a huge mistake. Huge mistake. And then taking away their free speech rights. That really made a lot of people angry. I mean, I knew as a doctor, if I had an opinion, but it was different than Governor Newsom's opinion, that they would threaten to take my medical license away. I'm furious with the government's overreach and taking away people's rights. That caused a lot of stress. So I think it's actually both. It was the pandemic, no question, and then it was our reaction to the pandemic. And if I was giving the government a grade, I would give them an F. Why do I say that? The United States has 4% of the world's population. It had 16% of the world's COVID deaths. You didn't hear Dr. Fauci say anything about vitamin D. You didn't hear him say anything about losing weight. They closed the churches and they kept the liquor stores open. There's just something inherently off with that. And in the beginning of the pandemic, I went, your best defense against COVID is your immune system. But we didn't hear anything about enhancing our immune systems except forcing people to get vaccinated, even though if you weren't vaccinated, you're the one at risk, right? You're not protecting anybody by being vaccinated because what we know is the vaccination didn't prevent you from getting it and didn't prevent you from spreading it. It may have prevented you from dying from it, maybe, but we're still dealing with the fallout of this. I have a niece that's at UCLA, and they basically forced her to be vaccinated. And I'm like, really? This far out of the pandemic with all that we know, what is that really? It's about control. And when people feel controlled, they get mad and sad.
What part of the brain is affected by stress and impatience, and is there a way to correct it?
So there's a very interesting part of the brain called the hippocampus, which is on the inside of your temporal lobes. And exposure to stress shrinks it. And you notice when you're under stress, your memory's not as good. Your mood is not as good. Even your spatial awareness is not as good. And so, how do you counteract stress? I'm a huge fan of meditation and diaphragmatic breathing in a special way. So take in a big breath and then take twice as long to breathe out. And if you do that for just 2 minutes, your level of stress will go down. And then I teach my patients not to believe every stupid thing they think. I call it killing the ants, the automatic negative thoughts that steal your happiness. I was 28 years old in my psychiatric residency when one of our professors taught us, you have to teach your patients not to believe every stupid thing they think. And it was such a revelation to me because I believed every stupid thing I thought. And working on that helps to keep me sane, stable.
Thank you. That nailed my life. I got to work on that, not stress and be more patient with myself. Thank you.
You know, everything you're saying is really thrilling to me. It's like I started out as a wounded baby, and even today, if I get a negative thought about myself, I will immediately say wounded baby and move on from that because I know that how it's all connected. And I taught meditation and yoga for a decade and eat organic and drink alcohol occasionally, but not very often, do not smoke. All of that, I've really been working hard at it. And so I just want to tell you how much I admire your work and what you're trying to do. It's obvious that this country is in great trouble with mental health. Is there any way that we can help you cause a revelation or a revolution in mental health care in this country?
Wow, thank you so much for that question. The first thing to do is live the message, right? You can't give away something that you don't live. So my first core value is I'm authentic, is I live the mission of my life. And then I teach people about it. So you can teach each other. You can, obviously with the podcast, you're teaching other people, because when you share this information, you're actually creating your own support group, making it more likely you'll stick with it. So live it, give it, and don't buy the status quo. The status quo, if you have problems with your mind or your memory, is they give you medicine without ever teaching you how to actually be healthy. And so asking yourself this question constantly throughout the day, is this good for my brain or bad for it, is just absolutely essential. I live it and then I give it to everyone who will listen.
Do you see any difference in the scans of high achievers versus, just average common people?
High achievers tend to have healthier brains. I mean, not always. I did the big NFL study at a time when the NFL was lying it had a problem with traumatic brain injury in football. And they're very high achieving, but with very bad brains. But by and large, the most successful people have good frontal lobe function. So the front third of your brain is involved with things like focus and forethought, judgment, impulse control. And if that part's healthy, people tend to make better decisions. And then obviously better decisions go with better achievement.
And along those lines, as far as warding off Alzheimer's and other slowing of brain function, you mentioned racket exercises or racket sports? What is it about racket sports that is so much a greater advantage?
So I'm actually building my own pickleball court right now. So there are multiple studies that people who play racket sports live longer than everybody else. Why? When you're doing a coordination exercise, tennis, table tennis, pickleball, badminton, you got to get your eyes, hands, and feet all working together while you think of the spin on the ball or the strategy of the game. It's sort of like aerobic chess. Coordination exercise activate a very important part of the brain called the cerebellum in the back bottom part of the brain. And all of you will understand this. My young students have no idea who Rodney Dangerfield is, but you remember the comedian Rodney Dangerfield, right? I get no respect. Well, the cerebellum is the Rodney Dangerfield part of the brain. It gets no respect, but it has half or more of the brain's neurons. And it's connected to every other part of the brain. So when you're doing a coordination exercise, you're activating the rest of the brain. Well, how exciting is that? That something so simple like ping pong can have a beneficial effect. I just got a letter from these two women who are 92 and 94, and they play a half an hour every day. And they said they're convinced it's one of the reasons that their minds and memory continue to be sharp.
Thank you.
Well, what about golf? Would it fit in?
So golf is a great game, and you get lots of sunshine, and it's not very aerobic, especially if you're taking a cart. Now, if you're walking, that's not a bad thing. You'll walk 4 or 5 miles, so that's a good thing. But taking a cart, you get out, hit the ball, come back in. And for me, golf doesn't help my brain because I swear way too much.
I'm there with you. Yes.
And maybe spend too much time at the 19th hole.
Yeah.
When I think about it, when you're playing pickleball, tennis, or ping pong, you don't think about anything else while you're playing except what you're doing and that ball. I don't know any other time that I block everything else out.
It's almost like a meditation.
I guess that's true.
So you obviously think that the brain is still evolving.
Absolutely. It's going to continue to make new connections throughout life if you put it in a healing environment. And you have that choice, right? No matter what our age, every day I'm making it better or I'm making it worse by what I eat, what I drink, the supplements I take, the thoughts I allow into my brain. And I have the rule of 12. It's actually currently being tested. The rule of 12 is when I do something important, bad things happen. Like, just own it. Bad things happen. And it's like, I'm not going to be upset until the 12th thing has gone wrong.
Wow, that's interesting.
I think that's mental health. It's being flexible. Now, I just moved recently into a beautiful new house, and probably 120 things have gone wrong. So that's what I meant by I'm being tested.
Understood.
How do you feel about Pilates? I'm doing 3 hours of Pilates every week, and I'm really thrilled at the way that my body feels. I'm wondering, because there's a lot of coordination. You're not hitting a ball, but you have to coordinate hands and feet and brain in Pilates.
I like it a lot. I think it can be really helpful for people, especially those people who struggle with pain.
Well, in my effort to heal, I want to go back to something you said earlier. I drink orange juice because I thought I was getting vitamin C. You say it's poison.
I'm sorry, why do you drink orange juice?
Because, I thought I was increasing my vitamin C.
Yeah, it's a lie. It's marketing. Eat the orange or take extra vitamin C as a supplement. But the sugar, the unwrapped sugar, is toxic for you. It's more likely actually to damage your liver. So it has a negative net effect on your body. But eat the orange, because then not only are you getting the fructose, the sugar, you're getting the fiber that tends to neutralize the negative effect.
Now, I've heard that they said ginkgo, I think it was ginkgo biloba, is good for your memory. But I also saw on Google that it doesn't necessarily help your memory as you age. Is ginkgo biloba good for your memory?
Yes, I love it. The prettiest scans I've ever seen are people who take ginkgo because it boosts blood flow to the brain. Now, there's some negative studies with ginkgo. I'm like, once you have Alzheimer's, it might help a little bit, but it's probably not going to help a lot. And the brain doesn't get sick in one way. So if you want to keep your brain healthy, you have to sort of do a couple of different things. So ginkgo, omega-3 fatty acids, B vitamins, exercise, eating colorful fruits and vegetables, not being overweight. I published 3 studies that show as your weight goes up, the size of your brain goes down. So that should scare the fat off all of us. It's really everything you do. Is it good for your brain or bad for it? And many people go, but Dr. Amen, I love ice cream. And I love ice cream too. The problem is it doesn't love me back. And I don't know if any of you have ever been in a bad relationship. I have. I'm for certain not doing it with food. I'm only going to love food that loves me.
Very good. And
Yes, and I've really started watching that, and it's interesting how quickly the food says, no, I don't love you back. And then you can just stop it, And I think that's really exciting.
Have you found any evidence that eating properly, exercising properly, staying away from alcohol and cigarettes, staying away from everything bad actually helps in preventing Alzheimer's or Parkinson's or other diseases like that, which some of them are genetic also?
So yes, doing the right things will help. I have an acronym called Bright Minds. You want to keep your brain healthy or rescue it, you have to prevent or treat the 11 major risk factors that steal your mind. And the G in Bright Minds is genetics. But I don't think we think about it correctly. Genes load the gun. It's what happens to us. It's our behavior that pulls the trigger. And so, for example, Lisa Gibbons and I are friends. I was on her television show a lot over the years. And her mother and grandmother died with Alzheimer's disease. And when she was 51, she came to see me. And her brain was headed to a dark place. But she did everything I asked her to do. And at 62, her brain was dramatically better. So know your risks. Like in my family, there's obesity and heart disease. And every day of my life, I'm on an obesity, heart disease prevention program. And that's how I want you to think about genetic risk. It's, oh, I have these things in my family, so I'm vulnerable to that. So I need to be on a prevention program. I adopted my two nieces because both their parents were drug addicts. And I'm like, you have addiction in your family. You need to be on an addiction prevention program every day of your life. So when your friends are offering you drugs, you need to get out of that situation. Otherwise, they may steal your life.
What is a basic daily routine of incorporating what to do daily for good mental health? Diet, sleep, exercise, is that correct?
So my basic routine, if you want to have a good day tomorrow, so my routine starts the night before. I go to bed early. I make sure I get 8 or more hours of sleep. And I'm really busy, but sleep's really important. And when I go to bed at night, I say a prayer of gratitude. And then I go, what went well today? So I actually go on a treasure hunt starting when I woke up, and then I go hour by hour throughout my day, just looking for what did I like about the day. And I even look for, I call them the micro moments of happiness, whether it's a butterfly or a bird or a hummingbird. I like hummingbirds. And I live on the bay and I see all sorts of wonderful birds. I'm looking for those things that just made me happy. And so it's my nightly treasure hunt because they set your dreams up to be more positive. And then when I wake up, I say to myself, today is going to be a great day because I'm nudging, pushing my mind to look for what's right rather than what's wrong. And then I have a big glass of water. I do stretching. I spend time with my wife. And the first meeting of the day, I always do while I'm exercising. So I do a huddle with my team and I'm walking or I'm riding on my stationary bike. And then 3 days a week, I'll lift weights. It's really important. The stronger you are as you age, the less likely you are to get Alzheimer's disease. And then I do intermittent fasting most days. So my first meal is around 11 and I generally make a shake, a protein shake with avocado. I put liquid vitamin C in it. I have a product I like called Smart Mushrooms. And so I have a shake that's loaded with nutrients and fiber. And then later on, I'll have a salad with some protein. And it just sort of depends on the day. But I like routine. And when it comes to food, you basically just need to find 20 foods you love that love you back, right? Because most of us are creatures of habit. And so I love salad. I love healthy fat, avocado, nuts and seeds, healthy oils. I don't feel deprived at all. I think early on when I had to get serious about brain health, I'm like, oh, I can't have this. I can't have that. I'm completely over that. It's like, oh, I get to have this. I get to have that. And why would I ever do something to hurt myself unless I was stupid? So mindset is really important because you have to ask yourself, what do you really want? And for me, I want energy. I want memory. I want focus. I want passion. I want connection. And quite frankly, ice cream doesn't fit on any of those things. Alcohol doesn't fit on any of those things. And, why would I do something that doesn't fit what I really want, unless I was sort of an idiot?
I listened to your interview and I got very excited about talking to my brain and asking my brain to do things, and watched with incredible results of really communicating to a part of my body. I mean, I had certainly thought of keeping the rest of my body healthy in that way, but it hadn't occurred to me. And I certainly have talked to my heart, but it hadn't occurred to me to talk to my brain. And I got very excited about the things that I can accomplish with my brain, with us walking hand in hand in a different way than I had really thought of before. So thank you for that.
In your scans, have you scanned someone as they listen to music?
I have. Yeah, I did a study with music, and music clearly can change the brain in a good way or a bad way. I actually did a study with students while they listened to Mozart, heavy metal, country, and rock. And listening to Mozart, they were the most effective at the memory task. Listening to heavy metal, they were completely disrupted. They were terrible.
Not surprising.
But the second best surprised me. It was country. And I'm actually not sure why, but I started listening to more country music.
Very good.
Now, if someone is suicidal, what can they do to reshape, if you will, their brain?
Yeah, suicide's a big problem. Suicide mostly happens when people become hopeless, when they think there's no solution to the problem. And I often tell my patients that are suicidal, it's a permanent solution to a temporary feeling, because it almost always goes away. And then, I grew up Roman Catholic, and I'm not above using guilt, because when people get suicidal, it's like their brain is in a tunnel and there's no windows and no doors, and they don't see the impact that their behavior will make on others. So I get really clear with my patients. If you do this and you have children, you're just teaching your children that's how grown-ups solve problems. And you've just gifted them a 500% increased risk of killing themselves. And so I try to get them out of the tunnel and into whatever reason they have to live. And sometimes people become suicidal because they're depressed and they don't know why they're depressed. And they may be depressed because they have mold exposure, or they may be depressed because they have an infection like COVID or Lyme or other things that impact their brain. That's why the scans are so helpful, because we can see sort of the misfires in their brain, and people generally get more hopeful that there are things we can do.
So if people go to your website, are they able to find out more information about all of this? Are they able to reach you to take the initial test, to find out exactly what they can do to move forward in this kind of interesting, more than interesting, exciting, I just think the things you're doing are very exciting.
Thank you so much. Yes, if they go to amenclinics.com. So Amen, like the last word in a prayer. Imagine growing up with that last name. amenclinics.com. They can learn all about what we do and where our clinics are.
Today, with social media and so many people staying on the computer and the young people staying on the computer so long, how does that affect the brain, and what's a good amount of time to stay on, then get off the computer?
Yeah, it's bad for them. I mean, the research is very clear. The more time you spend on computers or social media that's not work-related, the higher incidence of anxiety, depression, ADHD, addictions, and obesity. So managing your time, on average, children today spend 3.5 hours on their devices. And we know if you spend more than 3, your risks just skyrocket for bad things.
Do you think that taking children and putting them on Ritalin or something similar to that because they've been labeled as being hyperactive is good for them? Or do you think that it might be slowing down their productivity?
I think it depends. Do we try natural things and like diet and exercise, simple things? But if you do that and they don't work, then medicine can be really helpful. Was that the question?
Yes, because I often think that children get labeled with that disease or that handicap, and they're slowed down by the medication, and then they're not as productive as they grow older.
Well, that's not my experience. My experience, if someone really has ADD or ADHD, the medicine may slow them down so they're less hyperactive, but they're better able to focus. They're better able to follow through. Their grades are better. And what's the benefit of your grades being better? Is your peer group changes. Now, all of a sudden, you have a peer group that wants to do well, that is working hard. And so, do I think too many children are on medication? Yes. It's sort of a knee-jerk reaction. But untreated ADD is a nightmare for people. 33% of untreated ADD kids graduate from high school. That means almost 2/3 don't. Untreated ADD, they use 3 times the amount of medical services. So they're more expensive. Untreated ADD, higher incidence of divorce, incarceration, abuse. I mean, every bad thing. My experience, when you treat it properly, people are more productive, not less productive.
Thank you.
And in your field, especially in psychiatrics and treatment of PTSD and other maladies, how do you see psychedelics figuring into all that?
It's the big question of the day. Magic mushrooms are in. I feel like I've seen this party before. Do you remember in the 80s with Valium and Mommy's Little Helper? That didn't work out. Or in the early 90s, alcohol is a health food. No, that's complete nonsense. Or the late 90s, pain is the 5th vital sign, which led to the opiate epidemic. Or just recently, marijuana is innocuous, and it clearly isn't. I think the whole magic mushroom excitement is going to blow up in our face, just like those other problems. We're so fast as a society to want a quick answer. And the quick answer is get your brain healthy, your mind will follow. But that takes work, right? I mean, we talked about that. You have to ask yourself, is this good for my brain or bad for it? Probably going to be getting rid of alcohol and sugar. Like, people don't want that. They don't want to hear that. It's like, oh, I'm stressed. Maybe I should get high and have a spiritual experience and everything will be fine. You probably saw the study or the incident week before last where an Alaskan Airlines pilot had psilocybin 40 hours before he took a flight. And he tried to kill everybody on the plane because he was dissociating. He was confused. So for sure, he ruined the rest of his life. And he was probably going, well, doctors from Hopkins are saying psilocybin might be good for depression and PTSD. And he did it likely in an unsupervised way. But as soon as the population perceives a drug as safe or as innovative, its use goes up. And I just think it's going to sort of cause a shit show in our society.
We know that you don't like caffeine and the way that dances with our brains. What about green tea? There's a lot of hype about green tea, and yet there's caffeine in it. How do you feel about that?
Well, green tea also has theanine in it, and theanine helps to modulate the caffeine. So if you need a boost because you didn't go to bed early enough last night, I would be a fan of green tea before anything else.
Thank you for your
To
time.
be with
Thank you
for
very
having
much.
And
us.
all the advice. Thank you.
Right.
I'll work on meditation for my stress. Thank you very much.
Are you good for my brain?
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank
you,
you.
sir.